it's going live now. There we are. We are live on YouTube. Welcome everybody to the autumnal equinox meditators meetup. In case you don't know, we do this 4 times a year for our meditation group. And anybody who wants to join us in chat is certainly welcome to do that. Right now, it's just Debbie and I on the Zoom side hanging out. I don't know if more people are going to come or not. Anybody on the YouTube side want to join us on Zoom? I'll quickly send you the link if you want to do that. Just let me know. Actually, I'll just send it anyway. Let me go find it. It's funny, after I send them, then I don't have them anymore because they're gone. Must be here somewhere.
I might be able to find it too.
Once I go live on Zoom, I can't get it from Zoom, so then I got to find it in the email that I sent. That's the tricky part. Well, I guess I can find it on the...
I'm going to Facebook.
Oh, you have to be careful with that one because it doesn't always copy appropriately. You have to like control click it to get the whole...
Okay.
I think that was a problem we had last time.
Okay, let me see if I can
It
do
truncates.
that.
So that's the problem it has. To make
Okay, I just copied the link address, so that might work. Let me see.
Yeah, I just found it too. So if yours doesn't work, then mine will work and we'll get them there.
We'll see if it works, then we'll know.
So far we have Cheryl, Letty, and Jen. Welcome. And let's see, it looks like we have 10 people here. So we've got some lurkers hanging out in the background. Maybe you want to come join us. Let's see, I'm just going to put that in there. So
Oh, it's interesting. I can't seem to post it.
On Zoom to hang out. Hayenta, good morning.
You're right. I can't post it. It's not letting me.
Oh, of course you can't. Yeah, because I mean, even though you're a moderator, it
Mhm.
wants you to link, but you should be able to. I don't know why it does that because I've got
It's
you
too long. Yeah, it's too long.
too long. Okay. Yeah, I just posted the URL.
Yeah, you're good.
So any of you guys want to join us so we can see you and chat more freely on the YouTube side, please come on over. So what we're doing here is from the original meditation group out of the Path to Hearing Angels and Guides. We get together 4 times a year for the equinox or the solstice, just to check up on each other, see how we're doing with our meditation practice, what kind of amazing experiences we've had. And because we're experiencing more of the fourth dimensional life now, I think more things are showing up for us. That's certainly true for me. Is that true for you, Debbie?
Yeah, it really is. And I don't even realize it till later, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
everybody. Yeah, because you're in the middle of it. Of course, you don't really realize it in the moment. And then later,
Hmm.
it's like, wow, something is really different. And then when you start thinking about it and putting the pieces together, it's, oh, okay, more clues about the difference in fourth dimension versus third dimension.
Hmm. The full moon this time really affected me.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
And it body aches and uh, my legs were sore. It was very interesting. It's like I could feel the pull of the moon.
Well, there was an eclipse that went with that moon. So that
Hmm.
could. And the funny thing is, I've never been sensitive to those kinds of things. But lately, again, part of the fourth dimensional reality, our bodies are becoming more sensitized to those kinds of shifts. That's one of the big things I've
Hmm.
observed that's different. And you know,
I
fun.
am, I may disappear for a minute. My internet, I need to go on, I need to go off Wi-Fi. So if I disappear, I'll be back.
We'll see you in a minute if you disappear. Jen, your knees have been killing you. Ah, sorry. Yeah, there's energy stuff you can do for that. I don't know if you're involved in anything like that, but one of my favorite things is called Trameal. And yeah, it's showing up there, I guess. Um, if you want to order it, I can get you a link. It's not something that's well known to the public, but it's a combination homeopathic remedy that's great for all kinds of inflammation. So I keep it around all the time because there's always something happening.
Mm.
The other night, I got a past life regression from Dave Johnson. Some of you know Dave. It was fabulous. And at the end, I'm thinking, oh, I feel great. And we get off, and I stand up and I start walking out of the room, and I tripped over the sofa and fell flat on my face, mashed up my toes. I have these big bruises now on my toes. And it was like, whoa, I guess I wasn't all the way back the way I thought I was. It was like, hadn't quite settled in my body yet or something. It was very rude awakening. But weird stuff like that as well. It's just the energy is
Mhm.
different in 4D as we're adjusting.
Mhm.
Were you going to say something, Debbie?
No, I was just amazed about your experience with falling down and feeling empathy for you.
It was weird because I felt okay when I stood up, but clearly I wasn't. I was still not fully returned to my body at that point because we had gone really deep into that session and some great stuff came out of it, but just I wasn't expecting that to happen. And you know,
Mhm.
these days, because my balance is not that great since I had that brain surgery years ago where they snipped the nerve on the right side that handles balance. So now I have one side that compensates for both. So anytime something puts me a little off balance, I'm just more wobbly than I would be otherwise. And bam, just go flat. Not fun.
You know, now that you're mentioning balance, I have definitely been noticing that my balance is off.
Oh, interesting.
That, in fact, to the point where I started sitting on my balance rider again, which is kind of a fake saddle and it balances for the rest of the people who are listening, but it helps with your internal balance. And I love it. But that's interesting that you would bring that up, that your balance is a little bit off. It maybe more so than before. Interesting.
Yeah, I always have to be careful, as I said. Like I can't really drink alcohol because then I can't walk. So just a little bit and I can't walk. But yeah, it's more tenuous now than it has been before. Probably going to have to start thinking about having a cane handy just for those times where, you know, that something happens and need the extra support. Cheryl said she's felt an inexplicable malaise 3 days before the full moon. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's that
Mhm.
extra sensitivity we're talking about. Good morning, Judy. Let's see, who didn't I greet? Leah Salva, good morning. Yeah, sure. This is kind of an impromptu. I didn't give people a lot of notice, but I looked at the calendar and it's like, oh, it's time for the equinox gathering. So I put it out there really quickly for people because tomorrow is Ask Your Guides. So it's like it couldn't be tomorrow on the actual day, but we're getting it as close
Mhm.
as we can. And Cheryl, homeopathic remedies are great for symptoms in your experience. Yeah. No side effects. That's what I like about them. They're so great. Jen, you've been seeing dragonflies and hummingbirds, usually the ones that show up on your metaphysical journey. That is awesome. Hey, Rossi, welcome. Craig, you're glad I mentioned Dave Johnson. Maybe a past life regression will answer questions about Clara and you. Oh, yeah. If you're thinking about getting one, go because he's so good. We were on for think about 3.5 hours because it's very intense. There's a lot of prep work you do before you actually go into. And he did help me with one of my past lives to get more information about it that I had gotten it, but I didn't trust it. So I wanted to get another confirmation, and it was very helpful. Hey, Betty. So glad you could be here. So who joined us on the, oh, Elena's here. Awesome. So glad you could pop in, Elena. She is on the road right now looking for her new home and new adventure. Hanging out with eagles.
Mhm.
You've been
That
getting
was
sun.
the hardest thing to figure out how to get into this today.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah. Do I?
The Zoom link didn't work.
Mm-mm.
Maybe that's why nobody from YouTube is coming over. I wonder, what is it telling you?
It just told me I couldn't open it on my phone because the browser didn't support it. And I'm like, I always open it on my phone. What are you talking about?
Well, they've done an update recently. That might be the problem.
Oh,
Every time they update their software, things go wonky for a little while.
so it was like, good. I copied the link. I did this, I did that, and it just wouldn't let me in.
I can't believe how brown you have gotten since I saw you last. You've
Well,
been a
it helps when you're outdoors all the time.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of power left because my stupid voltage, whatever you call this battery pack thing
Yeah.
is almost dead.
Oh, bummer. Well, tell us
And
really quickly what's going on. Give us your update. Anything specific to meditation would be good, but just so the community knows what you're up to.
I'm up to no good. No. So, what can I say? Anyway, it has been, how do I put it? It has just been one heck of a rough last 3 weeks. Trying to figure this out, since I left Arizona. And then finding out as I was moving, I couldn't figure out why I was having such a hard time breathing and why it was being so difficult to walk. Turns out I ended up with valley fever. And it's not something easily removed because it's a fungus. Huh, who knew? So anyway, I was going to move to New Mexico, and I was there within not even 36 hours, and the breathing got worse, and turns out valley fever's there also. And so, of course, the desert contributes to it because it grows in the dirt in the desert. And so then I took a trip to Hot Springs, Arkansas, because I was going to do some crystal digging. Turns out not really easy to do when you can't breathe. So I sat on the lake Washita for 7 days and just swam and soaked up some sun and rested. And then I went and spent some time with some friends up in Perryville, Arkansas. And if I had the money to buy their house, I would, because they want to move to New Mexico. And it would be a perfect retreat center.
Yeah,
She
but
had,
you don't do a retreat center anymore. I thought you changed your mind.
oh, I did, but I can retreat for me.
So could you work out a deal with them? Maybe they could
Oh,
finance it.
they want 365,000 for the house, and it's not just a house; it's a house. Well, she turned one of the buildings into a beading supply. I guess the guy who actually built the property or built the buildings turned it into like a bar, pool table kind of thing. So,
It's a business too.
yeah, and and it also has, I don't know if you call them, they call it a cottage, but it's got a 1 bedroom, totally sufficient place to live in. That's where I stayed when I was there. So there's a kitchen in there, there's a full bathroom and living room and stuff like that. And then there's like a huge 2-car garage. And it is just the cutest house. But I was like, that's a lot of money for Arkansas, to pay that kind of money. And of course, on Social Security, it's kind of hard to pay that anyway. But so my travels took me to Tennessee. I was going to stay at the Great Smoky Mountains, and because they're part of the National Park Service, you're supposed to get to stay there for 50% off on any camping and tenting or whatever. Well, they refused to honor the card, and I'm still going to call the National Park Service on them because that's ridiculous. So then I was at a loss because it was like, those were the 3 states I was supposed to go to: Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Arkansas. And so after, and then my car blew up because of a mistake that the technician made back in Arizona when they changed my oil, and I almost lost my car. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and it's been very much tapping into source. Uh-oh.
You going?
It says low battery. Let me see if I can plug it into the car.
Yeah, because when you finished telling us about your little adventure, Sherry was posting how she's now seeing eagles, and she realized that that's her spirit animal. And
yes, they
I'm
are.
telling you that you're an expert at that.
It's like, I wish my phone would have been charged up this morning so I could have gotten a video of that bald eagle. I mean, he flew right at me, and I'm sitting there watching him and his wings. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a bald eagle. And my phone isn't working.
You may have to turn your car on.
I will. Yeah, I have to plug it in first. Okay, there we go. Bear Heart's going to get upset, but oh well.
Tell them we're on plans.
So, so we finally, my friend Trisha suggested taking the car to Pet Boys. And between the lady at Pet Boys and the place that I used to work at back in Arizona, we finally got them to pay to fix the damage that they had done to the car, which was a good thing because it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
that's a really huge positive sign.
It was.
You were able to turn things around and get empowered.
Mm-hmm. But what was really cool is even at Lake Washita on Brady Mountain in Arkansas, there's several huge eagles' nests that were not too far from my campsite on the lake. And I only saw the bald eagle once, but the immature eagles, oh my God, they would come out and they would play in the, oh heck, what do you call those things? The thermals. So they would come out and they would dive bomb and they would float and fly. So I got some really kind of nice pictures and video of the immature eagles. But it's always seems to be when the eagle shows up, because eagles are all about new beginnings. They're all about the east on the medicine wheel. And they're all about new projects, new beginnings, new anything. And so it was kind of cool that it came again back around after the full moon and the eclipse, which was kind of cool. And then to find one here, it was like, oh my God. So that was kind of cool. So right now I am at Lake 10 Killer. And I don't know, I'll show you. This is my view from my tent.
Beautiful. Just
Isn't
beautiful.
It? And there's a little island out there between the trees, which I think is cool because on Lake Washita, that was all islands. So it was like, and you could island tent or island camp, which was kind of cool because I'd never heard of that. But you had to have a boat or a jet ski or something to get out to the islands. And it was primitive tent camping, but it's primitive here too. It's like, I don't have any electricity, hence why the phone keeps dying. But I decided to stay here for like 4 days just to see, well, for one, to relax, and because driving 7 days straight on the road was getting a little bit too much for me, the car, and for Bearheart. So we're just kind of chilling here for the next couple days while we try to figure what the next step is.
So you didn't, when you started your trip to go and explore the 3 states, you didn't go to Oklahoma except for briefly. You didn't really check it out as one of the states. Is that it?
No, because in my head, which is a very scary place to be, I mean, there was a niggling in the back of my mind that maybe I should just go back to Oklahoma because I knew it. I knew the area. I knew it was, the cost of living here was cheaper, especially than Arizona and even New Mexico. But I didn't really come with the attitude of, oh yeah, I'm coming back to Oklahoma. When I came through, of course, I stopped to say hello to my buffalo, which I, posted pictures or videos of that, on Facebook, but not really with the intent, because I had it in my head, even though I kept hearing. And it's so funny how spirit works, because for the last few months, as I've been trying to figure all this out and doing the packing and everything to get ready to leave, I kept hearing, what's wrong with Oklahoma? Why do you have such a problem with Oklahoma? What's wrong with Oklahoma? And I kept saying, there's nothing wrong with Oklahoma, but I've already lived there. And so, sometimes we get it so stuck in our head that we think we know what we want or what our soul wants. And as I'm finding out, no, we don't. Not even a clue. And that's pretty much what this trip has been about, because there were certain signs that I've been seeing. And one of them, he showed up a couple months ago. No, actually more than a couple months ago. He showed up more toward the beginning of the year, about when Medicine Bear passed away. And it was a dog. And he said his name was Frisco. And I'm like, yeah, okay, right, whatever. You know how you blow things off because it doesn't make sense. And what was so funny, because apparently Frisco and Bearheart they know each other, the souls. And so I keep getting these conversations between the dog and the cat. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys just need to knock it off. But what was funny is when I was coming through Oklahoma, which I have done many, many, many times, when I would go back to visit my parents when they lived in Indiana. And then, of course, when they moved to Michigan. One of the very first street signs I saw when I was coming through on the western side of Oklahoma was Frisco Avenue. I had never seen that sign in all the years I have traveled through Oklahoma, which has been about 30. And all of a sudden, but I dismissed it. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Frisco. Huh. And I went about my way because I was so focused on getting to the crystals. It's like crystals. I want to dig for crystals. But it was there. So it's like sometimes literally some of these signs can hit you in the face, and you still don't get it. But I don't know what the whole idea still yet of going to all 3 of those states were.
Well, because people weren't listening, so they're like, okay, you go do your thing, honey. We're going to tag along, and when you're ready to listen, we'll be here waiting.
Oh, and it's really interesting. It's what's really interesting because you kept mentioning Maryland.
And Cherokee Village.
Well, the Cherokee are in Tennessee, but they're also here in Oklahoma.
I know. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
You ended up on the Cherokee or close to the Cherokee land.
What is funny, and it's something I still need to look at, Maryland, and the person who kept telling me I had to go to Tennessee or Kentucky, Those are the two states I had to move to, one of the two. But that person is trying to get back to Maryland because that's where she believes her partner is. So she's trying to work up. So I was kind of interested because I was thinking it as I was driving, and I'm like, why does Maryland keep coming up? And I was like, wait a minute. That's what my friend Juanita keeps saying, where she wants to go back to. And I was like, I wonder if she's got some still little cords attached, trying to manipulate things so that I end up going where she wants me to go, but not where I'm supposed to go.
Mhm.
So again, it's tapping into source and saying, hey, get everybody else's thoughts and feelings and emotions out of me and out of my brain, cut the cords so that I'm getting accurate information for myself.
And you're getting a really good feeling in your solar plexus about Oklahoma now?
Not yet.
Okay.
It comes back to, because I've been sitting here and I did this kind of like at Lake Washita too. If my brother hadn't changed my mom's will and forced her to sign a new one, giving him everything, the house would have been mine because that's what she had wanted. But it sat on a lake in the middle of the woods. So every day I would be looking out over the lake. And I was sitting here even this morning thinking, if he hadn't screwed things up, I would already be in that space instead of sitting here in a tent trying to figure out where the heck I belong. So it's the water and the nature, and being able to be outdoors, I think so much that's drawing me.
So not necessarily Oklahoma, but just the setting that you're in right now. But
Yeah.
What I heard while you were saying that is that in your mind, you've got prejudice against Oklahoma for some old reasons. They're saying, forget that. That was third dimensional Oklahoma. You're now in fourth dimensional Oklahoma. Think of it as Oklahoma 2, clean slate, give it a shot and see how you feel about it.
Well, after I mentioned that stuff to you this morning about I found that rent controlled apartment in Tahlequah, I actually, because we had talked about Muskogee once before. And so because it's also by a huge lake, and they actually have the cutest 3-bedroom home with a humongous backyard for rent for $700. And I was like, so again, it's that thing of keep your options open. It might not be one place, but there are so many lakes here in Oklahoma. It could be at any one of them. And they're all fairly close together. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this particular lake. It could be down at the other lake, down in and around Muskogee, because there's so many. And so I was hearing the same thing. Keep your options open and look at it through a new lens and not through the lens of other people trying to influence you.
And don't be in a hurry, because then you get locked down to another annual lease or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing is, it's like, and I don't know if Oklahoma has a national park here, but the state parks, they don't give you a discount. So it's more expensive to stay here in the state park than it was to stay in the national park. So that's one thing I'm going to have to check and see if there is a national park here in Oklahoma that I could possibly stay at, which would be a little less expensive to give me more time to explore.
Hey, so while we're on here live with people, and this replay will be up for a while, let's just put out the call to the universe. Anybody who hears this and has connections in Oklahoma, put something in the comments so we can get it to Elena. How about that?
That sounds good.
Call the universe because it's amazing the things that are showing up. You
It
know,
is.
that
I did that.
I sent you earlier, that's
I
in
did.
answer to something I was asking about last week, and it popped in today.
Yeah, I did that yesterday because my GPS kept taking me to the wrong place. And one of the places it took me to was the state park, but it was the ferry. And I'm like, and I still don't understand what it was about because it turned into a very, very rough, rugged dirt road with a lot of, big gulchy where you could lose your car in it. And I'm like, why would you be sending me down here? I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But I did, I got to the bottom. I took picture and took a little video. But when I started going back up, I said, okay, this ain't going to work. I said, Archangel Michael, I said, you need to get some hefty angels down here and pick up this car and get it back up this rough terrain. And that car literally just whoop, woof, and I was up. And I'm like, right on. Like, so yeah, they do assist. Even though people sometimes feel that they don't, sometimes I feel that they don't. They really do. Because
Well,
I know,
always look like what you expect because, like,
right.
thinking I've got to go to explore Tennessee, and then it was a big waste of time for you
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and not so much fun because you hit all that bad weather. It's like, how many clothes did you need that this was the wrong place to be, right? Now,
Right.
in hindsight, of course, that's obvious.
Oh, Francine, she was lovely. Yes. Um, but I also know Archangel Michael because when I travel, because he is the angel of travelers. So when I travel, I always make sure he surrounds the car and the tires because I learned the hard way. You need to include the tires. You can't just say surround my car because I kept blowing tires off. And finally, he's like, if you want your tires protected because they're separate from the car, you need to specify the tires included. So ever since then, I've always made sure it's like protect the car, protect the engine, protect the tires. He flies above you, below you, to the right, to the left, and in front and behind. And I know it was because of their help that this engine didn't blow when all that oil went shooting all over the place.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that car should have made it that far. So
So
it's
sorry, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Where was the home and the lake that your mother intended to leave to you?
Michigan, upper Michigan,
Mm.
up like near Traverse City. It was in Grayling, Michigan. It was in the the land was in the family ever since they got me because it was part of my grandpa and his brothers and sisters all bought 48, the National Forest puts up land for sale. And
Mhm.
so they created a club of the 9 siblings, and each of them bought either 40 acres, 80 acres. And I think that one of the sisters actually bought 160. And with each acreage slot that you bought, you got a lot on the lake.
Mm.
So when we were growing up, it was, of course, my grandpa's cabin. And there was no indoor plumbing or everything. We had an outhouse that we had to go up the hill to use. And my uncle was next door. The other uncle was on the other side. My dad's was in between the two, my grandpa and the uncle. And so it was like all family. It was like over 300, 400 acres of national forest. And then when my dad died, he left the 1 acre on the lake to my older brother or my younger brother. And that should have been a clue right then. He turned around and sold it.
Mm.
And which pissed my mom off because it wasn't supposed to go outside the family. It was, this was basically all family owned land. And so then when she got sick, she had told me that she had changed her will because of his wife, because she was greedy and they hated the place. she wanted the money and she wanted my mom's money. And so when they got sick, of course, I was out in Arizona, and there was no way for me to get back to do anything by the time she was diagnosed with the metastatic cancer. And so he put her in a nursing home. And then, of course, once the cancer got into her brain and her bones, she was in so much pain. She was just doing anything, you know, and he said, here's a new will. You need to sign it. They forced her to sign it, giving him control of everything. So he took the house.
And you couldn't prove that
Uh-uh,
he did it when her mind was not healthy. I'm
no.
so sorry.
And he
So
flat out,
you see yourself living on that spot, really. In your mind, that's what you're
right.
seeing.
That's what I'm seeing. Yeah. And I
Have
miss
you
the
been
water.
there recently? Have you been there recently?
I went back. I was there the summer before she passed away, which was she passed away in 2016. I was there in 2015. And we still have the cat. Well, it's not ours. My grandpa gave it to his other son. So his granddaughters have the cabin. But it's like, but so it's like, it's an image stuck in my head of, this is kind of what I want. It's like a log house on a lake, and it's probably changed. And because I know spirit keeps telling me things are changing, things are changing. But right now, after living in Arizona for so long with no water, the water is just like sucking me in, because it's like, oh my God, water, I need water, you know. And it could have changed by now, but yet in my head, I'm still playing that old reel.
But you really don't want to live in Upper Michigan.
No. Oh, heck no, I don't even want to live in Michigan. That'd be too close to that family. And I'm like, don't want to be anywhere near them. Yeah. Plus, I don't like cold that well. That's why.
That was where I was going. So letting go of that vision and looking for something that's for your highest and best good is what you are in the process of doing.
Yes.
Yeah. You'll find it. Your wisdom will take you where you need to be. You'll find it.
It's coming. I think I'm getting closer. But I just have to, and it could be age, but you grow up listening to your parents on certain states. Oh, you don't want to live there because they're a bunch of rednecks. You don't want to live there because they're a bunch of hillbillies. You don't want to live there because, that's like, ew. And I've caught myself this last year, especially on this trip, doing this because I can hear those voices. That's what I said. I really need to get rid of the voices in my head, so it's just me. Because it's like, yeah, but Dad said you don't want to live there. No way. And you look at this and look at that, and it's like, ew, no. And then I started talking to people, like even in Arkansas, and they're like, oh my God, you do not want to live down here in the Hot Springs area, because there's nothing but a bunch of redneck hillbillies. And I was like, but see, then it taps back into what my parents used to say. Yeah. So it's, these loops that we get stuck in as kids, they do keep replaying even as adults.
Yeah, those habits, the habit of thinking and letting go of that is huge.
Yeah. But once you recognize them, then you can consciously do something about it.
Exactly. And that's what I'm planning on doing, because it's like right now, it's like, as long as my little car here holds up and Bearheart holds up, poor little dude, then, I know when I find it, it will be that, oh my God, I'm home. And I haven't felt that yet.
You will.
So Oklahoma could be it, but this might not particularly be the place. Because even when I hit Tahlequah, I didn't get that feeling of, oh my God, I'm home.
Well, remember, a lot of this stuff is very subtle. So you
Mm-hmm.
keep
Mhm.
looking for a bigger feeling than what it actually is.
Yeah, but
So
I need that because otherwise I'll miss it. So, and spirit knows that. I mean, you literally need to knock me over the head, say, yo, you're home. Pay attention. And my guides and angels know that. So that's why I always ask, you need to give me such a huge sign that I am where I'm supposed to be, or this is not the place for me. Like when I went to Tennessee, the car blew up. They wouldn't let me stay. It was like, okay, that sign was very definitive. I don't belong there.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, but they want you to get it sooner so you don't have to go through all that crap. Because go back to your story when you saw the sign that was labeled Frisco. It's like
Yeah,
neon sign, hello.
I know. And I went, because and it was so funny because all the way down, like for like the next 10 miles, like, oh my God, how many times have I driven through here? But see, that sign is on the other side of Oklahoma. It's not over here on the eastern side, it's on the western side where the buffalo are.
Are you headed back that way?
I don't know. I really
Is
have
there
no idea.
water? Is there water there?
I don't know. I have to look. I've never paid any attention. I've always looked at green country mainly because I knew there were so many lakes over here. And when I lived in Tulsa, it's like, man, you turn around and there's another lake. I've never really looked at the western side of the state. Now they do have the Washita Mountains over there. Um, they have the Washita Battlefield, which I have done some clearing work on that one before because I had apparently relatives that died during the massacre there. So I was doing a lot of clearing on that. I actually had a client call me when I was doing it, and she goes, "Oh my God, I need your help. I need your help. I have a plumbing problem in my yoga studio." She goes, "Oh, wait a minute. Where are you?" And I said, "I'm on the Washita Battlefield in Oklahoma clearing it." And she goes, and she just started cracking up. And she goes, "Oh my God, only I would have a spiritual advisor that's on a battlefield in the middle of Oklahoma." And her plumber kept saying, if she's in Oklahoma, how in the heck is she going to help us with this plumbing problem? She goes, "Oh, trust me, you don't know what she can do." Because he couldn't figure out where the leak was. and, and so I tapped into the yoga studio and I pinpointed what wall it was in, exactly where he needed to go. They cut open the thing and there was the leak. And he goes, "Well, how the hell did she do that?" And Brooke said, "I told you she was good."
She's connected.
Because he couldn't
Mhm.
figure out where it was. So I haven't really looked at the West because again, like Deborah, like you said, I have that preconceived notion that it has to be on this side of the state.
Yeah, it's time to wipe the slate because this is 4D. All the rules are different and they keep telling you that. Everything is changing.
I know, and very
Just
quickly.
write that and put it on your dash or something.
I keep hearing crystals too. Um, are there crystals over on the western side? Is there?
I have no idea. I just know in Arkansas, that's where the crystal mines are. That's why I had wanted to go there because I wanted to go dig for my own crystals. So
Mhm.
I know it's more open metaphysically than this side of the state is. So like um because I went through there once a few years ago and ended up finding out it turned out to be more of a Wiccan shop than metaphysical. But oh my God, I had the most fun in there. We were talking like there was no tomorrow. And of course, I blew it off and I went back to Tulsa.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
yeah, sometimes I know the answers, I just don't pay attention
And you know,
because,
you're happy being near the buffalo. That's a big,
yeah,
I have goosebumps, just so you know, D- all over.
more the western part of the state instead of the
Mhm.
eastern. See, that's what I
Mhm.
was kind of starting to pick up, but I didn't.
Oh, yeah, lots of them.
Yeah.
Lots, even more now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I'm here until Monday afternoon. Um, and the western part of the state isn't that far anyway, so it won't take that long to get there.
What if the buffaloes are calling to you because it's time, they need you now?
It could be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you like to share with people why they need you now? Because I don't want to say it unless it's okay with you.
Why they need me now?
Yeah.
Am
Your
I missing?
connection.
Oh,
To-
my connection to the buffalo?
Yeah.
Well, you know, and they do yell at me sometimes. They got mad at me a few years ago because I hadn't visited them recently. So he saw it was me, and I said, "Hey, it's me," and he just turned his back on me, and I'm like, "Are you not paying attention to me?" He goes, "You've been ignoring us." I'm like, "Oh God, another animal with an attitude." But the reason I work so closely and so connected with the buffalo, besides the fact that they sit in the north on the medicine wheel, which is directly opposite from where I sit because I'm in the south. So whenever I look for answers or need help, because the south is all about emotional healing, but the north you turn to if you're in the south, so that you're looking for answers from the ancestors, but the buffalo sits up there, and especially the white buffalo. But one of my lifetimes, long time ago, long time ago, I was the white buffalo calf woman. And so, you know, and they keep saying when the white buffalo come back, things are going to change. Well, the white buffalo has been back for years. You know, we brought him back in Flagstaff probably a good 20 years ago was the first one. And I used to go up, and anytime they needed help, they would put a call out, and I'd have to drive up to Flagstaff to see what was going on. And they would literally, I could feel them crying. I could sense them crying, and they would just come over and kind of put their head up. And people were like, those buffalo don't interact with people. And I'm like, yeah, they do. And I took a friend of mine up there once with me, and they had a black bison. He wasn't a buffalo. He was a Canadian bison, and his name was Blackjack. And he would call me too every once in a while whenever they needed help. But at the time he was only 2 years old, so he only weighed about 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, and he was one of those that kind of ignored everybody. Well, when I go up there, I don't call them bison or buffalo. I call them Tatanka because that's what they are. That's the Lakota name for buffalo. And so I would honor the spirit of Tatanka. And my friend Maxine was standing next to me and watching, because I had my eyes closed and I was putting out prayers to Tatanka. And all of a sudden I heard the whoosh, you know, where they start doing the pawing at the ground. He put his head down and he charged. And there was only there was like a walkway, but there was a little wire fence on his side. Then there was a walkway, and then there was another little wire fence where we were standing on the other side of. He could have gone through them easily. He come roaring at us, and I was still talking to him in Lakota. And he literally, it was like somebody put a hand out in front of his face, and he went, and he looked at me. He looked at Maxine, shook his head, and you literally could hear him. Are you guys nuts? You didn't run. And I looked at Maxine. I said, did you feel any fear? And she goes, no. And I said, me either. And then he looked at me again. He goes, oh, it's you. And he just started eating at my feet. And every time I walked around, you know, checking out the other buffalo, he would follow. And every time I stopped, he would eat the grass at my feet. And the people inside, when we left, they're like, Blackjack doesn't pay attention to people. He totally ignores visitors. And my friend was like, not her. He doesn't ignore her. And I was like, that thing could have killed us because they're huge. They really are, you know. But I do that. Even over in the Washita, there's a mountain range on the western side of Oklahoma. It's called the Washita National refuge or animal refuge or something like that. So there's longhorn steer out there. There's buffalo. And when I went there one day, I saw the longhorn steer, but all the buffalo were like way, way far away. And I'm like, man, I'm like, if I don't see a buffalo before I get through this park, I'm going to be really, really upset. I said, Spirit, you need to bring me a buffalo. And I was just ranting and raving because I wanted to see the buffalo up close and personal. And I got to the very end of the park, and it was so funny because it was like, did I see what I just thought I saw? And I slammed on my brakes, backed the car up, and there was a huge female buffalo standing on the road. How the heck I missed it and drove past her was beyond me. But I was in such a state because I was so upset because I hadn't seen one. And so I backed it up and I literally asked her, I said, do you mind if I take a picture of you? And she goes, well, no, I don't mind at all. And she literally posed because she's like, I want you to get my best side. So she's like, and I took a picture of her and I said, well, thank you. And she goes, well, thank you for stopping. And I was like, and then she was gone. And I was like, whoa, okay. So if you ask to see something, Spirit again does bring it in, but you have to be consciously aware, because I was still in the ranting and raving of not seeing one, that I drove right past one right on the road with me.
Yeah, it's that message of being present in the moment, and we need that more and more and more.
Exactly. And it's getting very prevalent because before I left on this trip, Serge told me that things are going to be changing in this world very, very fast, very, very quickly. And you need to be able to stop, drop, and swivel and flow with whatever they start throwing at us, because things are happening that quickly.
Have you given any thought to writing a book with and about the buffalo? Because I'm getting a real big hit on that. Maybe that's why you're being drawn back
Could be back in that area. And that could be because yes, the eagle shows up whenever, I had a wolf show up at Washita Lake, which was kind of freaky because I didn't know there was even wolves there. But those are all my power animals that I work with. But I just have that affinity with the buffalo.
Yeah, so let's connect the dots. You have been putting out work about power animals on your website. You've been talking about it. There's another connection. And in 4D, we are connecting more to the creatures.
Right.
There's more of an awareness that it's important that we're all in this together. I was just typing that in YouTube on the chat. Goosebumps here, Elena. It's like you really need to check that out.
And I think it's also interesting because one of the things I had planned on bringing with me on this trip, while I figured out my life and where I wanted to be, I had meant to bring all my work on the medicine wheel because I wanted to get that workshop up and going and get it online. But the only one I brought with me was all about the power animals.
You keep getting pushed towards power animals. There's something there.
Yep. Yep.
Something else I'm hearing is that when you're ranting and raving, you aren't close to it until you pass it.
Right.
And so I think that, and for me, that's that way too, when I'm not centered, when I'm ranting and raving, which is not being centered, I'm not able to hear. And so I love the book idea, love it. And the travels that you're taking are part of that book on how you're discovering how to listen, maybe quieter, not so, maybe they don't have to be so loud. Maybe they're talking to you in a quieter way and you're missing it, but you're learning to pay attention to those quieter ones. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, that makes sense.
And letting go of the ranting and the raving, because all that does is puts a cloud over us and we can't hear.
Yeah, it kind of disconnects us.
Yeah.
And isn't that a
And,
mirror of what we've been doing in the path to hearing angels and guides?
Mhm.
It's the whole thing. It's tuning in, getting the subtle message so you don't have to get hit over the head or
Right.
have horrible things happen to you. So you get it sooner,
Mhm.
a gentler way.
It's more magical that way.
It actually is. It was like even when I stopped and visited the buffalo on my way through, I missed the first turn off because they have them at they're at the Cherokee trading post, and there's one on exit 71 and there's another one on exit 108. And I totally blew past the one on 71 because I'm like, oh, that's just the boot barn. I don't want to go to visit Boots. And after I went past it, I'm like, oh crap. That's the one where I get the really good pictures of them because they see me and they come running up to say hello. And so when I stopped at the second one, they were kind of a little aloof. So you know that energetically they were like, well, you blew off cousins over there and now you're stopping here and you're expecting. So it was kind of funny because trying to get them to come out of there, I finally did talk them into coming out to visit until people showed up, and then they're like, you don't like you people, and they went back in their little barns and stuff. But it was so funny because it was so subtle, but I could feel it because they were upset because I had gone past the first one.
Mhm.
And so they were kind of
Were you
showing me.
going east?
No, I
Were
was
you
coming.
going
Oh yeah,
east?
I was coming east. Yeah.
And they were trying to get you to go where?
There.
So the other place would have been going which direction?
It would have been going back more west
Mhm.
because exit 71, when you come into Oklahoma from Texas, and you come into Oklahoma City, then you hit exit 71 and there's the Cherokee trading post there, and they have the longhorn steer there, but they also have buffalo there, and they keep them out. I mean, it's beautiful how they have it set up. But here in Arizona, in Oklahoma, the buffalo are the state animal.
Mhm. Mhm. It's beautiful. I've been there. I drove through there once. It's gorgeous. Love
Mm-hmm.
that area.
Yep. And it's full of reservations because all the Indians got shipped out here to Oklahoma, so there's reservations everywhere.
Mhm.
Not just the Cherokee, the Choctaw are here. Um, I don't know. There's pretty much every representation except maybe the Western bands of Indians are here all in Oklahoma because they were shipped here during the 1700s, 1800s to get them off of their land. Yeah. So I'm for the next few days, I'm just going to enjoy the lake, enjoy the peace and quiet because I'm the only one here, and it's a primitive site, so it's like kind of no electricity, no water except the lake. So I'm going to enjoy it and just see once I get relaxed a little bit, what other kind of information
Mhm.
starts coming in.
A while back, we talked about you getting into a quiet space, focusing, talking to the trees and the grass. This might be the opportunity for that.
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that because my tent site in Arkansas was on gravel. So here I'm loving it because the tent is on grass. I'm getting to take my shoes off and walk barefoot on the grass. Unless I go down to the lake, then it's rock. So then I have to put my shoes back on. But I was like, oh my God, green grass. I can get out and walk on Mother Earth without having to wear shoes.
Yeah. Healing and connecting time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So nice.
Yes. Debbie, was there anything you wanted to share about what you've been going through, shifts that you have noticed?
Oh, for me, well, my horse was lame and I had to help heal him. And he, in order to do that, I figured out how to multitask and put his foot in a soaking bucket at the same time that I was cold hosing his back leg. So his front leg was in a bucket and his back leg was in cold hosed water. And all of a sudden, I don't know, second or third day that we had done that, he stepped out of the bucket, walked over the bucket with both legs, as if to say, I'm done. I'm healed. And I said, no, you're not. We still need to finish this up because, thank you for your opinion, but I know better. And so we went back into the bucket and he he spilled it then that time. And I went, interesting. And I looked at him and I said, so are we arguing about this because I'm in an argumentative mood, or are you in an argumentative mood? Or is it that you just want to play? And he went like this and took this great big sigh. And I said, you just are ready to play. And so I said, well, we're going to play with the water because I asked you to step in it. And so we're going to play with that until you can take a nice big calming breath. And I'm hearing you, but we're playing with the water now. It's not for healing. Sure enough, he stood there, calm as can be. And then I took his foot out and he's looking at me. And I said, okay, now we're going to, because I did it separately. Now we're going to cold hose that hind leg. Just for another minute. We're playing now. Mind you, we're playing. Just want to see if you can do it. Stand calmly. Sure enough, he was able to stand calmly. And I think that was the last. No, I cold hosed him again the next day. And last night, this was a couple days ago, and last night we had a storm come through. And in between the two storms, the ground was nice and soft. And he was bucking and kicking and running. This is a horse that could hardly walk on two of his legs for 10 days. And so now we're ready to play. Now I'm ready to play with strengthening exercises to help his stifle. It's the knee and the hind leg to strengthen. And so that's what I've been going through, is getting really quiet and listening to everything around me to figure out, to know, because you can't figure anything out. It's all about wisdom. It's all about listening to that heart song and that heart voice. So that's what I've been up to.
And
Go ahead.
Did you say there was something with your knees a while back? Are you getting that?
Oh, yes.
Going on?
Yes, my left knee started acting up. My tibia was displaced. Thanks for remembering. So not only was my horse's left knee and front foot sore, which is interesting because I hurt my thumb again on my left hand. While I was trimming his foot, I don't know if you can see it, but I didn't put my gloves on. I cut my fingernail. Didn't hurt it bad, but it was another left thing. So there's something going on with the left. I'm connecting with my horse from the left and the knee. And my chiropractor has been able to get my knee back in place about the same time that my horse and I have been able to get him moving better too. So yes, there is a connection there with my body and my energy. If I'm frustrated, my horse feels it. If I'm calm and in a playful mood, my horse feels it. So yeah, all of that is very, very strongly connected to Onyx. And then I even played with Ollie because Onyx couldn't play. And that's when Onyx hurt himself more, because he decided to tell Ollie that she's mine. And they were playing along the fence, and poor Onyx fell down. So Dan had taken, and I didn't know this because I had run to the house for a minute. And so Dan had put a halter on Onyx and kept him in the barn. And meanwhile, I was playing with Ollie, and Dan calls me on the phone and says, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm out here playing with Ollie." And he said, "Well, okay." So then he came out and videotaped me and let me know what had happened with Onyx, that he had struggled even more when I was in the house and hurt his stifle again. So I'm still figuring that one out because Ollie wants to play and Onyx wants to play. And so maybe we'll just all play together.
Or maybe you just need to have a conversation with Onyx and say, listen, just because I'm playing with Ollie doesn't mean I love you any less.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing that to give you the rest because your knee needs to get better so we can play more.
Yeah, I will have that conversation with him. That's a good one. And maybe I have deep down. I can't remember, but yeah, I probably have a little bit, but I will make sure I consciously do because Onyx is incredible about that. Remember when he was jealous of the mare that I brought in? And yeah, he's very intuitive. And so he
Well,
needs,
it feels like he doesn't give his heart easily, and he's totally
Mhm,
committed to you. So when you step out of that box of you and he together, he gets maybe afraid or nervous.
mhm, mhm, that I might let him go
Yeah.
instead of keeping him,
Well,
even
think
though
about
he's
it. How
injured.
many homes has he lost because he was lame or had
Hmm.
some health condition? So
Well,
that's
his eye,
a strange message.
and his eye, he has the feather in his eye because somebody hit him with something and cut his eye. So and it's beautiful. He's got this blue feather in his eye that's absolutely gorgeous, but it does affect his sight. And so he has because his sight has been affected backwards, he has he's developed an intuition that's very strong, very, very strong and very intuitive.
So it sounds like he's teaching you at a deeper level because
Mhm,
you're getting ready to go and teach
mhm.
yourself at a deeper level.
Probably.
It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
It is. And that's all shifting in 4D.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
it's connecting more with the understanding that we are unlimited. We say that, we say we understand it, but I don't think we really do. It's part of growing into that real knowledge, testing it, using it.
I think what we do is, and I think one of the reasons why meditation is so important because the veil is so thin between us and them, but we forget to listen and get quiet and don't always trust those messages. And so I think when moving into fourth D is all about relearning how to get connected because it's a little different. It's a shift. And so now we have to pay attention even more than we used to, but it's at a different level.
It's a whisper.
It's a whisper. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And
And
what I've noticed is suddenly the angels are talking about politics. They
yeah.
didn't really used to get into politics before, but what they're making so clear is that now is the time you need to stand up and fight for your future. Because if you don't, it's going to get stolen from you. And then, forget about all the promises we made you about Earthtopia because you have to participate in this. We can't do it for you.
Well, and Earthtopia is joy and happiness and confidence and calm determination, as my friend Mavis says, calm determination and leadership. It's the opposite of fear and anger and following without any reason to follow. So I think, oh, I've got goosebumps again. When, I had a dream the other night that I wrote about. I haven't been writing lately. It's just hasn't been the season. But I had said that, and then sure enough, a dream came through. And I dreamt about my mother who passed away a couple of years ago. And she was sitting in a stand, and I started watching her and zoomed in on her, and she was laughing away, and I thought that the wind was blowing her hair, and it turns out it was a bird on her head. And in my Facebook messages, and she had beautiful red hair. And in my Facebook messages 2 years ago, before she had crossed, I had found a beautiful red feather. And the day after this dream, I found another feather in the bird bath, which had same red tones to it, but different. More like the bird I'd seen on her head in the dream. And one of the things the message that I got from her dream, from the dream that I had with her, was to laugh and to be joyful and to find that inner excitement again. And so, I think that's where we're headed. Those are all political messages as well. I mean, my mother was an incredibly political person. And she would have been watching everything she could about this election right now, which I find interesting that I have the time to do that now too. So be the joy, find the joy, which we have been talking about for how long, Deborah? Find the joy, find the magic.
The angels always say that.
Mm-hmm.
And in this latest message at the end, they were singing.
Mm-hmm.
Got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. It's all, we just have to listen to the whispers, as you said, because they are whispers right now. We're so used to having them, smacked up beside the head that you're talking about, Dr. Elena, that this learning to listen to the whispers is an experience, but it's so beautiful.
Well, they've always said that as your vibrational frequency rises, which is what we're doing in our ascension, there's a higher level of responsibility spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So where in the past, let's say you're driving your car down the road and you're trying to keep it right on the line. In the past, you could go all over the place, go out of the line, come back, and it wasn't so bad because your frequency was lower. But when your frequency gets higher, there's less slippage there. So as soon as you get out just a little bit, you're going to feel it. Where before you wouldn't have felt it until you were all over the place. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable sooner when you are in too high or too low of a mood. It makes perfect sense to me.
So it's listening
Hopefully
to
it does to those listening.
the moment that you start to feel that uncomfortable, like, whoa, the reins are too loose on the horse and you have no control. You need to start to bring the reins up, get back in control, get back on that line where you're just cruising in the flow.
Balance. We talked about balance earlier.
Yeah.
Finding our balance. Yep.
It's all connected.
Yep.
Yeah, so
powerful.
Big clue to me falling on my face the other night, slow down. Don't push so hard. Because I had just gotten a huge download of information. So it's like, give that some time to process. Don't be rushing. So did anybody else want to pop in and say anything before we wrap this up? We've got a little more than 10 minutes left. Yeah, Betty's saying so many people have been apolitical until now, and they're finally waking up and realizing. And that's exactly what the angels were talking about in the message last week. It's like you could ignore politics before. It wasn't such a big deal, but you can't ignore it now because it's affecting you personal. It's going to change your life, and you better be sure that you're stepping up and putting your vote in the box for how the way that you want it to go. And Betty's singing This Little Light of Mine. Yeah, I remember that song. It's beautiful. Thanks for being with us, Sherry, spending your lunch with us. We really appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm trying to persuade Elena to join us on the on Saturday, next Saturday for Psychathon 2, to do a little portion on animals and communication with animals, because we didn't have anybody talking about that last time. So I thought that would be pretty good. What do you guys in chat think? You want somebody to show up and talk about animal communication? And I'm talking about September 28th, which is Psychathon 2. That's our 11-hour fundraiser for the Harris campaign, where we're going to be doing readings again. Share Spirit, you've been quiet, just drinking in the energy. Oh, you are so welcome. I'm so glad you could be with us. And she likes the idea of the animal communication. See, I told you. Because lots of people have pets that maybe they're confused or confounded by and would love to have the opportunity to ask some questions. So, yeah, we definitely need to do that. Betty, you're going to be there. Awesome. Yeah, it should be fun. And I'm really looking forward to doing the 11 hours versus the 24, because that was really a stretch. And 11, that's a piece of cake.
Can you record all 11?
Yeah, StreamYard gives me 10. YouTube says they give you 12.
Okay.
So we should get the whole thing, as long as I make sure that we
Perfect.
officially end it before the 12-hour mark, which is why we're doing 11. And it's also an angel number. So that's why we're doing 11.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to get all those synchronicities built into it to make it as powerful as it can be. And I really believe that in 11 hours, we can accomplish as much as we did in 24. It'll just be more
It feels
comfortable.
good to me. It feels good.
Yeah. And then we just have to figure out the date for the third one. So you guys can give me some input on the third one. We could either do it the weekend before Halloween, that's Saturday, because Saturday is the day people voted on, or we could do it the Saturday before election, which is like November 1st, I think. So I don't know if it's too late to do it on November 1st, or maybe that's even more perfect. So curious what people think about that. Because right now they're telling me that we need 3 psychathons.
What are the dates of those 2 Saturdays?
The third week in October or the first week in
Yeah,
November.
which
Let
one
me,
is October, so 10, 21, maybe 20.
something like that. Let's see, I just got my calendar up. So the third Saturday is the 19th. That would conflict with Ask Your Guides, but I can move that to a different week. And then the one in November, it's the 2nd. So it'd be the 2nd.
112. I was hoping it was the first 111.
I know it would be perfect if it was that. It'll still be good, whichever one we choose. And we might even be able to do the 26th, which would be the 4th Saturday in October. But I don't know if a lot of people are trick-or-treating then. And, I don't want to step on Halloween.
Energy,
What's that?
the energy will be good.
It's going to be good whatever we do, because the angels are.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying all 3 of those are good energy days. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think it will be
People
good.
will give your opinion. In fact, I bet they will after this.
Yeah. Let us know either in chat while we're still live or in comments later, which of those dates would be better. So we're looking at Saturday. So October 19th, the 26th, or November the 2nd. I don't know. I keep being pulled towards November the 2nd, even though it is right there up against election day. It's almost like we're doing this big push right before to bring it home. And
It
of course, that
feels
gives more time to plan.
good. It feels like that would be ushering in the energy that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Might not be changing anybody's minds, but it might be bringing the energy to a
And that's what it's about for us.
crescendo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is an energy experiment for us. And I'm thinking, not 100%, but I'm thinking if we do it November the 2nd, we might be able to do another 24-hour. What do you think about that?
Well, I fell asleep, so
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess we'll know after we do the 11-hour. If the 11-hour is super smash and everybody feels great about it, then that's probably fine. And of course, the angels need to weigh in on that one too.
11-11-2 sounds good. 11 hours on 11-2. 11-11-2. Feels good to me. We'll see what other people think.
Yeah. JL says do all of them. I wish, JL, but there's just not enough time to put all that together. It took me the entire month of August to put together the last one. And I've only got 2 weeks for the one that's coming next Saturday. So it's really a rush. Thankfully, a good portion of the readers from part 1 are available for part 2, and I've got a few extra newbies. And hopefully that will include Dr. Elena as well. We're going to keep pushing on you, Elena. You need to do this. Maybe you'll even have some really exciting news to share with us by then. Who knows?
Never know.
Miracles happen every day.
Yep.
Good morning, Chris. It's 6 a.m. where you are. Oh my gosh. You missed most of it. That's okay. The replay will be there. Animals. The one next Saturday, the 28th of September, starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So that's going to be really early in the morning for you, but we're going. No, I'm sorry. It starts at noon. It's noon to 11 p.m. So you'll have plenty of time to join us in the afternoon, our time, and probably late morning your time. Hey, Tammy from Wainwright. Great to see you. So anything else you guys want to throw in there before we wrap? Because we got about 5 more minutes. I'm going to do a recording with Helen, Irish Granny, this afternoon on Project 2025 that we're going to use next weekend for the live stream. And it'll be kind of like what we did for the Founding Fathers, but focused on people who have passed on, talking about their perception of Project 2025. So that should be really interesting. I've already done that, of course, and I'm going to be sharing it with her in a couple of hours. But one of the people that came on that was so compelling was Shirley Chisholm. Do you guys know who Shirley Chisholm was?
Mm-mm.
She was a Black civil rights leader who ran for president all those many years ago when she was around, which is, groundbreaking, unheard of. She was so inspirational. Many of the Black women in the Senate and the House now give her credit for being their inspiration. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek. She said, Kamala's got it all the way. So thank you, Shirley, and I hope she's right.
We will intend that she is.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, we are doing everything we can to make that happen. So we can all feel good about that. And of course, that's just more positive energy to put towards the project. Betty said she loved her. Yeah, she ran for president. Share Spirit, you're looking forward to it. We are too. It should be amazing. I just last night posted the Founding Fathers collection of videos, so that's up. I was waiting for Helen to do that, but she's not very technical minded and was having troubles with it. So I just posted it. Now everybody can listen to it. It was really a profound experience speaking with all of them and getting their input and perception of today versus what their life experience was like. So anything else you guys want to add?
Not me.
We're full, we're complete. Chris is excited about
Yep.
sure. So yeah. So that'll be next Saturday. And what we'll do is we will intersperse that throughout the 11 hours like we did the Founding Fathers. And then afterwards, it'll get posted as the complete conversation. So it's
I think it's important to do the 2025. So I'm really grateful that you are doing that and that you felt led to do that, because I think our eyes were taking off the ball for a while after the debate. And so I think it's important to revisit that again and again and again. So thank you.
No, I don't think we can emphasize that too much. I mean, we did have those little segments last time about it, but that was only a small portion. So Helen went through and she had some really great highlights, and we're going to be asking those famous figures about it. One of them was really funny. Jeanette Rankin, she was, I think it was a congresswoman from one of those Western states, Wyoming or one of those, I forget which one now. But she came in and I asked her my question and she says, "Oy vey, they gave me a migraine." And I'm like, is she trying to tell me she's Jewish? So I go Googling her. She was a Jewish congressperson. Who knew they even had them back then in the early 1900s? I was gobsmacked. That's the kind of stuff we're getting. Yeah, so it's really way cool. And like we were talking, Elena, the subtlety. It's just the way she said it, almost like with a Barbara Streisand accent when she does that real Brooklyn accent thing. It's like, oh, there's something more here. It's not just being cutesy. So then I had to go Google it and get more information. And that's the kind of subtlety we're talking about. If we're not paying attention every moment, we're going to miss those clues. That's life in 4D. And I tell you, it's a heck of a lot better than getting hit over the head and having your car blow up.
Mm-hmm.
So tune in, listen for the whispers.
Mm-hmm. Live in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, the message I just posted yesterday, there's a little place in there where the angels whisper, "Get the hell out of Dodge."
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of stuff like that coming through. Yeah, they are funny. They have a great sense of humor. All right. Well, I know you guys have things to do, so I will let you go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, angels, for hanging out with us. Thank you all on the YouTube side. It's so fun to have you there and sharing your thoughts and experiences with us. I so appreciate it. You're so welcome, Share Spirit. All right, everybody have a fabulous day. Mwah. See you soon next Saturday.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.